welcome to Cavan TV's News and Views. Today we're out and about, and here we are on Cathedral Road, Cavan, and we're outside the site of St Felim's Hospital, Cavan, situated on 11 acres. Recently, St Felim's Hospital has come on the market for sale, and with me is a local activist, Emmett Smith, and Emmett, we're going to talk about the sale of St Felim's, but first of all we'll talk about a little bit about the history. Built pre-famine times, 1840, built in sections. The annex part then was built in 1847. A magnificent building. It served a purpose to the people of Cavan all through the days until 2009 or something like that.
Yeah,
and now it's for sale. But let's go back into a little bit of the history of St Felim's.
Yeah, so built, like you said, before the famine times, was used then as a famine workhouse at a time when there was a genocide basically happening in the country. People were left to starve, especially the poor people. The poor people of the region were shipped off in here. Many of them spent the rest of their lives here. They died. There's a mass grave site at the back, the Bully's Acre. So you're talking possibly thousands, definitely thousands of people.
Unmarked graves.
Unmarked, all but one solitary gravestone there to mark the thousands of people that were buried. So it's a huge part of Cavan's history that goes largely unnoticed. I suppose it suits the agenda at the time to not remember these things, because what led to the horrific fallout of the famine wasn't so much the failure of the potato crop, but was the British state reaction. They took the food, the rest of the food, out of the country and left people to starve. They believed that you shouldn't interfere with the market. The market will provide. If people can't look after themselves, well then charity should be able to do it and stand in place of state intervention. And that's the same thing as what we see now with the housing crisis. You know, we have Fine Gael government that believes it's not their job to house people. We shouldn't have a state housing system. So we now see 10,000 people homeless in the country. You know, it's the same political ideology then as what we have now, and I suppose it suits them to forget these things.
But to get back to St Felim's, what you say is history repeating itself, really. But it was a small recompense for the English to build houses, to build institutions like this to home the starving Irish people. It's small. It was a small recompense.
Tiny, and then you know the treatment of these people as well. You know, segregation in there, splitting men,
women, and children. Families born in there weren't. They never knew then what happened to their families afterwards. And indeed, we hear local stories right to present day of people remembering people been buried, their last shred of decency perhaps taken from them in no uncertain terms of manner.
You see what's happening.
No coffins. You were buried with a little sprinkle of lime
and some lime
so that you would decay.
But you know, they talk about Tuam and the horrendous situation there. The babies that were buried in Tuam, you know, unmarked graves, septic sewage tanks that were thrown into. This is no better. This is a similar situation on our own doorstep that just goes unnoticed. You know, huge amounts of people buried here.
And and that's the history. But over the years, St Felim's Hospital was built as a workhouse in extremely bad circumstances. But over the years, that then became a county home. And back in the early and mid 1950s of this country, it served as the only maternity hospital in the county. So it did serve the county in a different way.
It evolved.
In many different
the site
ways.
evolved, and the evolution of the site went from one of extreme horror and poverty to, like you say, the county home maternity hospital. You know, a lot of people in Cavan were born
But
here.
let's talk about the stigma of the county home as well. I used to hear when I was young, I used to hear my grandparents saying, I don't want to die in the county home. You were really destitute and of very bad circumstance to end up in the county home. But yet it served a purpose for people who did have nowhere else to go.
Of course, yeah, there would have been a huge stigma. A lot of older people from the time would have seen it. They would have remembered it from previous incarnations, and it would previous generations, and it would have carried that stigma. You know, we don't want to end up in the workhouse. We don't want to end up in the county home. But you know, it did evolve, and people then following from that have very fond memories of what went on there.
Absolutely. It, as you say, it evolved over the years. I remember the great Harry Smith from Belturbet came in there in the 1970s and 80s and made it a habit. It was the home of many people.
It was a community.
It was a community and made it a habitable place and an enjoyable place to live. And that was the end days of St Felim's Hospital. But now So, and it served many purposes in the end.
See,
But now,
from the campaign, I would have looked more so into the history side of it. Famine times would have been my area of interest. But from the campaign, we started to reach out to people and talk to people. More so, the people of Cavan have a connection to the more recent use, and the support and the commentary.
fond
that we
memories,
received.
the histories.
Absolutely, there's still a lot of that with the people of Cavan, and that should be protected too. We should go back to something like that, where this was a hub for the community, something that was treasured by the local people here.
Okay, so it's on the market. We can see the sign there right behind us, very plain there to be seen. 11 acres. It was a fantastically manicured ground in its day. It's up for 200,000. Now, you and I know, you're interested in housing. You and I know that wouldn't buy you a decent semi-detached house in Cavan Town.
Scandalous, absolutely scandalous. It just shows
it
the
just
contempt
is
that they have for this site. The
such a
HSE
huge building. Three, actually, it's not one building. It's at least three buildings. Vast, huge, 3 stories high, some of them. It's made of stone and full of history, of course.
€200,000 is an absolute scandalous.
For 11 acres, prime acres.
And the buildings, like you said, that are on it, just goes to show the HSE allowed this site to fall into disrepair. Not one care was given towards it. It's left in falling.
It is in very bad. We just had a little walk around outside of it here along the roadside, and it seems to be in very bad disrepair, which is a pity.
Some of the buildings will be in disrepair, but we've heard from our meetings, we've had public meetings well attended, and we've heard from people that would have been here in the site just before it closed, and a lot of renovation work was carried out on it. So although it looks bad, and I'm sure there is a lot of damage where slates have been removed and there'll be water damage, but there is still a lot of structural integrity left there.
Yeah, it's an old stone building, which is practically incomparable.
Yeah, as well as that, the work that was done, windows, doors, fire doors, plastering, a lot of that stuff should be still relatively intact.
Okay, Emmett, that's the history of St. Felim's and the state it is now. But surely, what do you envisage for the future of St. Felim's?
Okay, so we have had, like I said, we've had the public meetings, we've had a lot of feedback from people that came to those meetings. We have a Facebook page there that has set up an online campaign. We have 1,000 people that support that. We received feedback on that as to what people would like to see. It's not just about myself or yourself, it's what the people, the community of Cavan would like to see. So there has been a suggestion of a cultural heritage centre, so something specifically to commemorate and to remember the famine times. We could have a cultural heritage centre here in Cavan. It's the county town. I worked in hospitality, and I've seen a lot of tourists that have come here looking for the historical aspect of Cavan and where can they go, and we have to send them to Ballyjames Duff to the museum. We could have something like that here that people could come out and
Can I just stop you there, Emmett? At one of the meetings you had somebody, I think it's from Carrickmacross,
yeah.
who were in a similar circumstance years ago. They had an empty workhouse, and not even of the structure or of the quality, or not even of the size of Cavan, but they have turned it into a workable hub within their community.
Yeah, so basically this site here is the site of the biggest famine workhouse in Ulster. Carrickmacross was just a much smaller version, and with the work that they've done has been outstanding. They've turned it into conference rooms. They have community events there. They do classes. There's a lot of stuff that they run out of that, and that is only a fraction of the size of what we've got here. If we are successful, hopefully we are successful, and the council takes ownership of this site, we believe that rather than spending millions, which has been released recently, 7 to 8 million the council wants to spend building office space, the council could be in here at a very much reduced cost. 7 to 8 million would make a big difference on this site.
But do you not think that it would cost at least that to get it in a workable condition again?
Of course, yeah, but there's grants available. We've got Ireland's Ancient East, we've got the 2040 plan, we've got so many bright sparkly plans from the government. There's money there is funding streams available, European grants for culture and heritage, tourism grants, huge amounts of money there available. It's just a matter of political will and the council taking ownership of this this invaluable, priceless site.
So to date, you have asked for a meeting with Cavan County Council. To date, you haven't had that meeting yet.
No, well, we had our last public meeting. The first public meeting was just for the general public. Out of that meeting, the people there were disgusted that no political representatives came to attend. So the second follow-up meeting was to invite all the local politicians, councillors, TDs, MEPs, senators. Everybody got an invite to come to that meeting. Very poor turnout. From the political representatives, we had a great turnout from the community. But We had 2 local councillors. We had a Fine Gael councillor and a Fianna Fáil councillor, and we had 1 Fine Gael senator. And they pledged full support for the campaign and told us that they were going to be meeting with the HSE last week. So to date, as far as we're aware, no meeting has taken place yet. We have gone ourselves to seek a meeting with HSE representatives or representatives from the Department of Health. So we've emailed and sent off these messages. To date, we've had 1 response, and we're waiting on word back to see can a delegation from our action committee go and actually speak to these representatives ourselves, because from the meeting you've seen it yourself, there was we'll say distrust at the potential capacity of the county council to actually put pressure on the HSE. There was a lot of discussion there about the arrogance of the HSE, how difficult they can be to deal with on matters like this. So I think beyond the community getting behind this campaign and pushing ourselves, we might as well be throwing our hat at it, I think.
Okay, but to talk about your campaign, have you an online campaign or what?
We set up a Facebook page, and it exploded to 1,000 people are following it in the space of a couple of weeks.
Okay.
There's an online petition as well. Liam van der Speck has an online petition going, and we're hoping to go out and start knocking doors and actually talking to people about that, because a lot of people don't know, maybe 1,000 people is a lot on Facebook, but a lot of people don't.
It's small county-wise.
It's small county-wise, yeah, and a lot of people don't read the Anglo-Celts, a lot of people don't listen to Northern Sound. Internet is, I suppose, the only resource we have. If it wasn't for the likes of yourselves that come and cover these things, Cavan TV has been brilliant, has come and covered both meetings now at this stage. It's the buy-in from people in the community like yourselves that can help us to get the message out, spread it through word of mouth, that kind of thing. So hopefully out on the doors we'll bring the petition, start knocking, talking to people and get the message out to them even clearer.
Okay, Emmett, so there's your chance now. I'm going to give you your time to talk to the camera. If you want to say to people out there, there's your time going.
Yeah, so I suppose it's important for the people of Cavan to get behind this campaign. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to protect a valuable, a priceless part of our county's heritage, not just for the people of Cavan, but the people of Irish descent everywhere that have an interest in their own heritage, their culture, where they came from. So, yeah, I just plead with everybody to get behind the campaign, contact us on the Facebook, show your support, and I suppose we want to send a message out there too to any vulture fund or prospective buyer of this site that the sale of this site is not going to go down, is not going to happen without a fight, and anyone that tries to buy it or develop it or build on it or or interfere with the structural integrity of what's here on St Felim's, that will be met with huge opposition. Every planning application, every planning proposal will be objected to, and they'll regret the day that they ever bought St Felim's.
Okay, so there you are, folks. That's our visit today to St Felim's Hospital on Cathedral Road, Cavan Town. And you can follow it on Facebook.
Follow it on Facebook, sure,
and keep up to date with the news on Facebook. Thank you for watching Cavan TV News and Views.